Welcome to today's event, Trauma-Informed Approaches to Meet Community Needs, as part of Temple University's College of Public Health Week celebration for National Public Health Week. We want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the College of Public Health Dean Ibrahim for giving us the opportunity to be a part of this week's events, and to Kim Wing, Executive Assistant to the Dean and Strategic Initiatives Coordinator in the College of Public Health, for all that went into coordinating this event space today. My name is Amy Lynch. I'm an Associate Professor of Occupational Therapy in the Department of Health and Rehab Sciences within the College of Public Health, and I have the great honor of leading Temple's Trauma-Informed Practice Work Group. This is a collective group of faculty, staff, students, and administrators within and across the university who are committed to creating trauma-informed and trauma-conscious spaces within our campus community. How do I advance? So one of the ways that we, how do I go back? It's going well. All right. One of the ways that we seek to fulfill this mission is through seminars such as this one, highlighting the ways in which we can embody trauma-informed practices through community collaboration, intentional service delivery, and sharing and understanding. Today, our goals are to introduce you to the incredible Pennsylvania Department of Education-led MASLOW Initiative, to create connections among trauma-informed approach principles and programs with strategies that assure basic needs are met. We are also excited to highlight some compassionate initiatives here at Temple that align with MASLOW. For folks who are not familiar with the trauma-informed principles, these are the guiding principles of trauma-informed practice. Each one serving the humanity and inherent dignity of each person that we have the privilege of connecting with. As it shares here on the slide, the intention is not to be a checklist or a specific recipe of how to be trauma-informed. Rather, that trauma-informed is a way of being that we bring into our interactions, classrooms, and meeting spaces. Throughout today's presentation and panel discussion, we hope that you'll appreciate how these principles have been incorporated into the MASLOW State Initiative, as well as services right here at Temple University. We're honored to welcome Lisa Balsamo. Lisa has a higher education, is a higher education professional dedicated to equitable and accessible education for Pennsylvania's post-secondary students. Currently, she serves as a higher education associate in the Division of Higher Education, Access, and Equity at the Pennsylvania Department of Education, leading, among other initiatives, the PA MASLOW, of which she will share more in her presentation. Prior to her role at PDE, Lisa was a graduate advisor and program administrator in the education department at DeSales University in Center Valley, PA. She holds an undergraduate degree from LaSalle University and a master's in higher education from DeSales. Additionally, she completed the teaching education program at Muhlenberg College, earned secondary certification in English. We came to know Lisa when Liz Zadnick and Sue GM Petroni went to the JED Foundation conference, a national effort to enhance student and young mental health. Lisa's work illustrates how meeting basic student needs is rooted in trauma-informed principles of safety, peer support, and cultural and historical events. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Balsamo.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Thank you to Amy and Liz and everyone here at Temple for inviting us. I don't when you say Lisa's work, it's not, it's a real collaborative effort with everyone on our team back at the office. And so it's a pretty new initiative. It's just over a year old now. So we're young and we're learning and we're growing, and hopefully we can foster this connection that we've made, because Temple is doing amazing work in this space. I would say you're an exemplar in the state of fulfilling basic needs. And you'll see, I think the PA Maslow does align quite nicely with the guidelines, the trauma-informed approach. So, oh boy, my turn. You see the little mouse?
Oh, up at the top left. To your right, counterintuitive. Sorry.
Here we go. Oh, okay. Technology. I tell you. All right, PA Maslow. Yep, let's get that. So why basic needs? So student basic needs, we focus on collegiate basic needs and student focused needs, because as you probably are well aware from your work, students today are facing a lot of challenges that hinder them from completing a degree. According to, we just went through the Hope Center survey, which is done here at Temple, another wonderful collaboration that we have. 49% of survey respondents reported experiencing at least one of the following basic needs insecurities. So 49% were either insecure in food, housing, or both, or were homeless. That's huge, right? In addition to that, 42% of respondents reported having personal experience with anxiety, depression. So students today are facing a lot of challenges that need support. So that's why basic needs. You're probably also very familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the work that you do. It is a theory, motivational theory in psychology that comprises of this 5-tier model depicting human needs. It's sort of it's a pyramid. So our pyramid is not quite the same, but it's based off of this. So obviously you can't reach your full self-actualized self if the needs below have not been met. So you have to start with the basics, your psychological needs, safety needs. You have to have love. You have to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of self-worth and esteem. And as you move up this hierarchical pyramid, you can reach your best self. So what our inventor, I guess, I don't know what to call her, for lack of a better word, she used this model to create the Maslow approach. So PA Maslow is a hierarchy of collegiate basic needs. We're focusing on prioritizing student needs to help them fulfill their basic needs and reach their full potential. So similar to Maslow, you can't reach this level, you can't reach success if the needs down here are not met. Our mission is to engage and collaborate to create supportive collegiate environments between post-secondary institutions, community-based organizations, nonprofits, and with our department at the state, Department of Education. So this initiative has a lot of wraparound with other initiatives that are in the PDE department. PA Fast Go is one. We're trying to get the word out, to have students not leave money on the table that they could be using for school. PA Maslow, which I'll go into a little bit more. Hunger Free Campus is housed under PA Maslow, but that's an initiative to, help meet food insecurity needs. And here comes our pyramid. So the PA Maslow pyramid, it's PA Maslow is basically it's resources. So it's an online website for resources related to collegiate basic needs for practitioners. So it's a practitioner website. We are hoping in the future to launch a student-centered website as well. Right now we do have, and it's not out of our department, but there's something called Empower You, which is a student-facing resource through PDE as well. But we're going to sort of mirror that and work with that in the future. But right now, so this one is primarily, like I said, for practitioners. And it's anchored in the 7 pillars of work. So we call these the 7 pillars. So unlike the Maslow, they're not hierarchical. I can't say that word. You know what I mean? They don't go up and down. So you can have, and it's often interconnected. You can have a student, who has needs in more than one area. For example, if they're not having their financial needs met, that may lead to a lot of stress and anxiety and depression. So they may have needs in the mental health area. But these are the 7 pillars that have been determined to be the most important in reaching and achieving collegiate goals. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in some of these spaces. Nope. Oh,
On the slide.
oh, okay. To get the thing. Nope.
Towards more like the center of the slide.
Don't come up, I'll just talk about them. Now I lost the thing. Oh, Lord. I'm sorry, guys. You're good. Yep. There we go. Let's see if we can make it. Nope. All right, I'll just talk about it rather than waste our time. Okay, so things are supposed to come up on the side, but I'll talk a little bit about the safety and belonging pillar. So in the safety and belonging space, PD has the It's On Us campaign, which invites everyone to play a role in ending sexual assault on campus. This campaign provides grant funding and support to IHEs for updated reporting systems and education programs on their campuses throughout Pennsylvania. In the physical health space, we have the Hunger Free Campus, which I mentioned. It's both a designation and a grant program. And that grant is to help build a coalition of colleges and universities focused on addressing hunger and other basic needs for their students. On the financial pillar, I said we have the PA Fast Fact Go. What's another good one? The mental health pillar, I'll talk a little bit more about. It's the next one. It's fine. I had things that were coming up, but it's okay. Oh, and then the Parent Pathways Initiative. So under the adult student needs, we have the Parent Pathways Initiative and grant, and that provides funding to institutions to support parents getting through tuitions, with tuition assistance, emergency funding, and wraparound services. The Parent Pathways grant provides funding to institutions to directly support persistence of parenting students. So that grant helps to provide tuition assistance, emergency funding, as I said, transportation assistance. So the Parent Pathways grant is really interesting, and I really support that. I love that. Oh, there we go. Excuse me. All right, so those are the pillars. And as I said, they're interchangeable, and we have students who have needs in one and all of these pillars. Because when we think about the types of students in Pennsylvania, they come all backgrounds, all experiences. We have post-secondary learners who come straight out of high school as first-year students, adult students returning after having been away for some time, students who are working either part-time or full-time, students with children and families. So regardless of where they come from or how they got here, they need our support. And so PA Maslow is sort of the interconnected tissue between all of our organizations to try to help give our students that support. This is crazy. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So thank you so much. Some of the resources that we have available on our website look like this. We encourage institutions to create a coalition on their campus of professionals and students who are geared toward this work. So when we talk about that, we want to know who needs to be there, right? Who needs to be at the table to make student basic needs a priority on your campus, and break down those silos, because a lot of people are doing a lot of good things on the same campus, but they don't know what the other one's doing, right? The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. So we need to break down those silos and really pool the resources that you already have on your campus, things that people are already doing, programs you already have. And so in order to do that, for each of the pillars, you'll see there's an administrator or someone whose primary goal should be to be part of that initiative. So like for the financial, obviously director of financial aid, housing and transportation, residence life, student affairs. It's kind of, it's logical, it makes sense. But when you see it like this, it's sort of like an aha moment for me. Like, why don't we have all of these people on this committee that are working together to serve the greater good? And I like this quote from the ECMC Foundation. Every post-secondary student should have the resources they need throughout their academic journey to focus, succeed, and complete their degree. The post-secondary ecosystem must play an active role in ensuring this happens. So again, it's looking at it as a collective, a whole, and we're all working together to make sure these things happen. So this is one of the resources. I don't know why I have so much trouble with this. It keeps disappearing.
On the last slide. So I have
Another resource, if you're just thinking about basic needs and forming a coalition or committee on your campus, one thing you could do once you have your team in place is asset map. So as I said, you want to see what resources you already have on your campus that are useful in meeting your students' needs. So this is an asset map that you could sit down with your team and score your campus on the current supports. So if you know what resources your campus has available for example, parenting programs, how do you support students? How do you identify students who need support? That's a big one. So how do you know which students need support, especially on a campus this large, right? You can use financial aid information, but that never tells the whole picture, especially when we're looking at it through a trauma-informed lens. You definitely don't see the whole picture just from somebody's FAFSA. So how do you identify those students? How do you get to them and let them know what services are available? How do you encourage students who are reticent to ask for help, right? Because there's still, unfortunately, even though we've all done great work in this space, there's still a lot of shame attached to needing help, whether it be financial or mental. So how do you take care of that? And then, because we know in this post-secondary world, there's a lot of turnover, right? People are come and go and moving on. And so how do you train your staff? How do you keep, once you have a system in place, how do you keep that going, right? How do you make this sustainable? And how do we retrain people and use our resources to do that? This one I love, and I would love to see a campus use these and get back to me and show me. This would make me so happy. We have these posters that you can download and customize. So you can plaster these all over campus and have students, we have ones that you can put a QR code on, or ones that are just text-based, like call this number or go to this office. And they're themed around all the different needs. So there's one that's got a theme for food insecurity. There's another that's themed for housing insecurity, another one themed for financial. So there's all these different posters up there. And we have them in English and Spanish, which I think is really exciting. And then you just download them, put your information on, and it's one way to get to students. So I really like this one, and I hope someone will use it. Okay. I feel like I skipped a slide. I did skip a slide. I want to go back because I really want to talk about this one thing. Maybe not here. I think I might have added it too late. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, it was previously called Act 110, which is our program for suicide prevention on campuses. you may be familiar with it because Temple is already a designated suicide prevention campus. We are in the spring launching a rebranding, and it will be called PA Cares. And so that initiative, again, you have to meet certain criteria as an institution. You'll become a PA Cares designated campus. And then we're hoping if we can get that moving and get a lot of people involved, that will also become a grant. So that's kind of how the PA Hunger Free Campus started. It's how Parent Pathways started. So we're trying to follow in those footsteps by expanding the PA Cares participants, and then hopefully trying to get a grant from that. But so look for that. That's coming in the fall, and it's coming to a place near you.
Yes, perhaps mark your calendars for May 27th.
Perhaps very near, like within walking distance. So I'm going over my time because I don't know how to use the technology. Okay. Oh, last slide. All right, so last slide. QR code is, if you are not already part of our listserv for PA Maslow, you can scan that QR code, just put in your information. We send out emails. We have quarterly meetings. We have events, speakers. We have lunch and learns. And basically anything useful or informative, we try to pass that along. So that's for our listserv. And then if you go to PA Maslow, the easiest way to find PA Maslow is just Google it. Just Google PA Maslow, it'll come right up. It's on the PDE website. And you'll see the pillars are there, and you click on each link. So if you click on mental health, it'll take you to a page with resources for mental health. You click on transportation, it'll give you ideas for how to improve that in your campus. It also asks questions. So making sure you're asking the right questions is important as well. So if you click on each one of those, it'll have questions to get you thinking in the right direction, and then resources. As we find them, we update the website. And we like to highlight, institutions that are doing good work, sort of as a model. So you'll see that the Hope Center is on our site right now. So we have news and events, lunch and learns. Empower You is the one that I had mentioned. That's for students. It's student-based, and that campaign is up and running. And we are going to sort of marry the two at some point, because we want PA Maslow also to be for students as well. Like I said, right now it's more practitioner-based. What else? PA Navigate, if you don't know about that, that's really a great service for helping your students find resources, what they're eligible to get, where to get it based on where they live. So a lot of good resources on the PA Maslow website. We're still building it out. We're going to revamp it. It's a little crowded right now because we're sort of dumping everything, but that's part of the next year process, is making everything a little bit more pretty. But that's what we're working on, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope you all benefit from it. That's all I have. Thank you. Are we good on time?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. For folks who may not know me, I'm Liz. I serve as the director of the Wellness Resource Center here at Temple. And I have the honor and privilege of participating as part of the Trauma Informed Practice Workgroup. So thank you so much. If I could invite you to join our panelists over at the chairs, and to welcome our panelists up to find a seat up here. Jealous of the legs that require to get up on that seat. Nope, they can be. They tested it. So I'm going to introduce our incredible panelists and also moderate the discussion on Zoom. So for our virtual participants, you're welcome to put some questions in the chat, and I'll make sure that we have some time. But each of our panelists will share, just like Lisa, how they address student basic needs in a trauma-informed and trauma-conscious way. And as I said, we've protected time for Q&A, both virtually and for folks here in person. So If you want to take a note or, drop your question into the chat, we'll be sure to leave time. But I'll start just kind of moving down the slide here. Annette uses she, her pronouns and is the Senior Program Manager, Basic Needs Support in the Office of Student Support and Advocacy within the Division of Student Affairs. In this role, she is responsible for providing daily operational support for the Barnett and Irvine Cherry Pantry. Annette hosts and facilitates programs and workshops for the Temple community around basic needs support and works to connect students to additional support resources outside the university to ensure holistic support for our students. Annette graduated from Rowan College of Burlington County with an associate's degree in psychology in 2020. She then went on to complete a bachelor's degree in social work at Temple and graduated in 2022, and perhaps is taking the next step in her journey within the School of Social Work. Valerie, you could lead, is the founding director of the Social Service Annex and director of practicum education right here within the College of Public Health School of Social Work. Her career is focused on reducing stigma among social work students and trainees so they can better serve communities, as well as connecting social work students with meaningful placement sites. The Social Service Annex offers prevention-focused and empowerment-based intervention support services to Temple students and the community at large, offering solutions and delivering effective, compassionate care that helps students achieve a better quality of life and a higher likelihood of degree completion. Valerie completed both her BSW and MSW at Temple University, a proud owl. And Karima is coordinator of the Resiliency Resource Center at Tuttleman Counseling Services within the Division of Health and Wellbeing here at Temple. She completed her doctoral training in counseling psychology at Auburn University, where she worked in various settings, including a community health center, residential treatment, and multiple university counseling centers. Additionally, she completed her APA accredited internship at the University of Virginia Counseling Center. Previously, she earned an MS in educational psychology and a bachelor's in psychology, both from George Mason University. Karima's view of healing is centered at the heart of connection. As human beings, we are wired to connect, and as a result, we grow through relationships that are empathic, loving, and authentic. So please join me in welcoming our wonderful panelists. And thank you, Lisa, for moderating.
So we're going to start off with some questions here for our panelists. First one is, please briefly introduce yourself in one way your program or office serves student basic needs. What ways does your work embody the principles of care, safety, and sense of home? Now to start with.
Okay. Thank you, Liz, for that introduction. To briefly introduce myself, my name is Annette. I oversee our on-campus food pantry as our cornerstone basic needs offering. That is the Barnett Irvine Cherry Pantry. Yeah, that's just going where they're at and what they're comfortable with. And then an example of how we employ common here at like a policy perspective is we are a client choice pantry. So we allow students to come in and shop for what they would like. And I think that there's a sense of empowerment and dignity in the power of choice.
Change that.
Thank you, Liz and Lisa. I just wanted to add that,
A little closer to the microphone.
Did
Audio.
you select the mic for the audio?
Yes, it was working well.
Closer to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Check on audio. Check on audio. Perfect. Thanks so much. Thanks all.
Okay.
Resume.
So I am Gabby Clemens. I am the director, founding director of the Social Services Annex, and I am also the director of internships for the VSW and MSW program. I enjoy both the jobs because they give us an opportunity to serve students and provide in some different ways peer support through having interns at the Cherry Pantry and working with PRC and trying to get students there so that students can help students better than anyone else. Students will lead students to the help that they need, and we've seen that happen at the Social Service Annex. The Social Service Annex piggybacks on the care that you've already heard that is given at the Cherry Pantry as well as the RRC, and that we're located in Ritter Annex in the basement. Somehow students find us, and it has to be word of mouth because we're in the basement. But we offer a sensory room, and we also offer a Zen-Den. So the sensory room is there when students come in and they need to, and it's for any and everybody. So a sensory room doesn't mean that you have to be a certain type. It's just what you need. Actually, it is my favorite room. I did not know I needed it until I built it out. I said, oh, I love this room. And I can just sit down and with the lights and with the hurricane tube, it just calms you. And we also have a Zen-Den where students can come, rest, relax, do yoga, and sleep. And so I always say, well, you meditate. So if you find yourself in that position, some of the things that we do that are trauma informed is that if you're going to go in there, and we ask them, if you're going to go and sleep, you need to hold on to your belongings because we're really conscious of of the world around us. And so what happens is that you never really kind of doze off because you're holding on to all your things. And so we want you to be able to relax and rejuvenate. And we'll also tell you how we're going to wake you up. So I'm either going to rub your arm, or if you tell me that's not good, you're going to tell me how should I wake you up so we don't further traumatize you in that. And it's just some of the small things that I call come under just be kind. We have a lounge where we have coffee, and you know, coffee is the first food of the day for any campus student. We have in the morning, we try to have something that you can snack on. That's even if it's a biscuit, if it's grits, if it's what is it, cream of wheat, those kinds of things. We've had students tell us what to get, and or they just bring things. They bring their own lunch, and they say, "Do you have this spice?" So we just started getting spices and different things. We have we found out we have this huge culture now that really is not looking at coffee as their first meal, but tea. And so we've had to up our game a little bit based on what the students are telling us to bring. But all of that is said that you come to school and you get here and you no longer have the finances to keep you going for the day. And so that cup of coffee or that tea is very important. That morning snack is very important. We have our regulars, and we know what they need. And sometimes they'll just come and say, "Do you have this?" Because that's what they are used to having at the end. So our grocery list is guided by our students. And so we try to see how we can best support them. Psychologically, you really need to feel that you're safe in a space. You really need to feel that there's care there for you. And all of those things, and they create that because they start to talk to one another in the lounge, and they have friends there, and they invite friends there. And it's been a really communal space in which the students really, to me, need it. We're there. We have individual appointments with students so that if there's a need that they have, whether it's a student who's on campus or online, because we have a lot of programs on Temple's campus that are online, so you can get an online appointment as well. We have workshops that have STARS credits. We design a number of them around student issues, but we also ask students, what is some of the topics you'd like to discuss so that we can talk about it? Because if one student wants a topic, several more do, and we already know that. And so it's been exciting to be able to plan for such a diverse group.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so moving on to our next question. How do you approach collaboration with other campus offices to support basic needs and your work to build a trauma-informed campus community? And Valerie, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I think the first thing is you have to believe in the full continuum of services that Temple offers, and we offer a lot. And I always tell that to students, I was like, you're paying for a lot, it's here for you. So, and we're offering it to you, so make the best use of it. If we have a student who comes in on a regular basis, who is, we know, is coming in the morning to get a snack or in the afternoon to get a soup, we'll definitely, after we get to know them, say, have you heard of the Cherry Pantry? And they may not want to go, or because they think that it's a service for someone who doesn't have. And I frame it in this way. I said, you know, if they provide a service that you pay for in your tuition, you should at least go over and check it out. And we had interns do a video of walking over to the Cherry Pantry. How do you get there? And things like that. And so you have to just believe that the services will work. You have to believe that you're not the only game in town. We've walked students over to Tuttleman. We've walked students over to the Cherry Pantry, because if you go with a buddy, you're more apt to go. And so if you don't want to go by yourself and you think I'm your buddy, then here we go, we're going. I think the other, to build a trauma-informed community, and I think that it's, in some ways, it's just using the basic principles. Our students have told us that they feel safe. And so we're looking at what is it that we did, and what did we provide? And we provided the things that we had a sense of that they needed, but that they've informed us that that's what they need. I'm so excited. So it's a couple of things. So one, we had one of the students that come into the annex to do a video. And I was so surprised because the students said, and was beaming, they were like, when you come in, they say hello. And when you leave, they say goodbye. And I was like, that's just basic courtesy and kindness of being recognized in a space. And then we ran out of food. I had to go to Sam's today. And I was coming out of a door and I saw a student go by and they looked, because when they came in, it wasn't much, but when they left, it was so much more. And I just saw the smile and I said, there it is. And it's just exciting to see us as a university provide this for all of our students.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think the point that you were talking about, like, you know, as students, you pay for these services, you get access to, you know, student financial services, to FAFSA, to all these different services and resources on campus, and basic needs support is another resource that you get access to just by virtue of being a student. So I think framing it the way that you framed it is so helpful for students to, like, you know, conceptualize that it is okay to ask for help in that institution. It's like ought to provide these services for their students. In terms of approaching collaboration, I think collaboration makes all of our work stronger. I think that the PA MASLOW model has really helped us tap into this more comprehensive model of what it means to offer basic needs support services, thinking outside of just food services, but also really tapping into like how we provide students who are suffering from housing insecurity, students who need access to technology, students who need access to transportation. So we've been able to foster, I think, just really meaningful and cool collaborations with different offices to be able to provide that more comprehensive basic needs support. So one example of that is this past academic year, we partnered with the law school to have a group of law students come into the pantry for an hour a week to host walk-in hours for students who had questions about their lease. So it was a basic landlord-tenant service, a free legal information service by law students, and that wouldn't be something that we could offer without that collaboration with the law school, which is really meaningful. I think another example that comes to mind is we partnered with the Office of Sustainability to give away free and very discounted bikes to students who applied at a need-based application. And that was really cool to tap into transportation as a basic need. And bikes are something that the Office of Sustainability just has. And you don't like know these things until you collaborate with offices and see how you can, you know, make those resources have the most meaning to the students who need it most. So I think really just thinking comprehensively about basic needs is how we approach collaboration, and it's been able to foster some really cool initiatives and really cool collaborations.
The law was really on thoughts.
Yeah.
So as Valerie mentioned, students can be walked over to Urban Housing Services anytime of the day, 3 to 5. We have walk-in crisis hours for students, that means that there's always a counselor on call ready to pick a student when they are walked over, if they are in a crisis or just need any type of support. And so I think that is definitely to kind of a trauma approach, making sure that if a student is in need, they can be connected to somebody and can be supported in that way. We collaborate with a number of different offices, the Wellness Resource Center, the Disability Resources and Services, as well as the IDEAL office. In a specific way that we collaborate with them is that we have an initiative called Let's Talk. And so what that is that we have a counselor who is outside of the counseling center within those specific offices 1 day a week. And it's a way for students to be able to access counseling. It's walk-in confidential services still outside of kind of the counseling center itself. While this generation of students definitely is big, not stigmatized counseling as much as I think my generation did, it still can be stigmatized for some students based on a number of different things, right? Really, there's just cultural components. And so to be able to access counseling in this space that isn't the counseling center, but still receive that support is really, really important. These meetings are structured in nature, and so they are not specifically like full-blown counseling, but it's still a way to do that that support in that space, and then maybe that can help with the referral to the counseling as well.
Very good. We have the trifecta here.
Basic needs.
What are your hopes for building a trauma-informed community campus that meets student needs? How will your office or program contribute to that vision?
I just want people to know that the Resiliency Research Center, the RSC exists. That it is a space for students to be able to access mental health resources that compare well with or without therapy, but they are really like a lot of self-care resources. As Liz mentioned in my bio, I really do believe that connection is what leads to healing. And I can actually give a soapbox about this, but I do think that universities across the board, not just Temple, needs to kind of recognize that mental health support cannot only happen in counseling center. That we have to provide resources for folks across the university to be able to respond to mental health needs. That can look like there is an initiative called Mental Health First Aid for Higher Education, where they really teach folks about just how to respond to kind of basic mental health needs, and then connect those folks to counseling or to other support. Folks across the university, faculty, staff, other students can be trained in something like that, should be trained in something like that. As well as just kind of creating more spaces for connection across campus, like the social annex, right, where students can kind of come together that aren't in the classroom or in their dormitory, but other spaces for connection to be really intentional. And then I say my third one, Liz and I have kind of played around with this idea, but we dream up this satellite RRC. So having this space, having these resources in other spaces across campus too, and you don't have to just connect with them in the university.
Oh, for me, oh my gosh, I have so many hopes and dreams. So what's really exciting for me is that because I am the director of internships, I get an opportunity that if someone, so we connect with on-campus sites, so Tuttleman, the Cherry Pantry, the Social Services Annex, and anybody on campus that is looking for a social work student to provide services. We try to figure out how we can make it work. And most of the times we will make sure that we are that element that our licensing board requires in order for us to do what we need the student to be there. Because peer support is just so important to the process with all of these things. And students really do love talking to other students. And just seeing how we can then look at and come as a continuum of care and look at, okay, how can we do these things on a regular basis? How can we offer some things on a regular basis? How can we do satellite sites where maybe one day the Cherry Pantry is there, the RRC is there another day, Social Services Annex is there another day, so that then we can begin to guide the students in between the services that we have. And then we also, like my colleagues, think outside the box with our students. So just kind of telling them, what are all your services on campus? Because our students are facing housing issues. And in a way that I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to help you within your existing situation. So I've often said to students, I said, you know, I think it's like 4 or 5 gyms on campus. And I said, they open up early. I said, that's an opportunity for you to take a hot shower if you need to have a hot shower. Because those people who are out serving, they're the last to go to sleep. They're the first up in the morning because they want to not be intrusive. I've talked about the Cherry Pantry and saying, you know what, maybe you don't think you have anything to contribute, but you are allowed a certain amount of food per week. And so go over there and you can bring that in to the situation you're having. Helping students where they are, making them feel good, making them feel supported, letting them know they're on the right track. I think that we all do that. I think this is like one of the the presentations that we're at, having more of these, where we're also letting students know, we all talk to one another and we all respect you. And so please come and use the services here that Temple has to offer because we want to support your success.
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off of what you both said, I don't have anything like super new to add, but I really like how you brought up like a continuum of care and just creating like a culture of care on campus is something that I think is one of my hopes for building a trauma-informed campus community. And I think that this work that we have all shared that we're doing, I think really just feel like using that as like a launch pad to really expand the work that we're doing and elevate the work that we're doing. Because frankly, in like my area, I think that student basic needs is an issue that is going to continue to have more demand for a variety of different reasons. So I think just using like our voices and this, you know, like the timeliness, I guess, of it all to really elevate the work that we're doing and empower students, like mentioned, to you know, be knowledgeable about these resources and really be able to tap into that peer support network, because that has really been something that has been very successful, I feel like, in my experience. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. The needs only going to get greater. Unfortunately, I think we would all love to put ourselves out of a job and have to know what are the basic needs being not met. But some really inspiring ideas here, the work that you're doing. My hopes for this institution and all the institutions, I'm like pie in the sky. I would love to see base, not just satellites, front and center, basic needs, everybody housed in one area, not in the basement.
Okay.
We have to get her out of the basement.
They're working on it.
Yeah, because what kind of message does that send?
2025 is a new year. I know we're looking for ourselves.
Right, so get those people at the table and tell them we need to come out of the basement, because we want this to be open and accessible and yeah, and so I would love to see all over that this becomes, you know, like the same level as the financial aid office, right? Here's your student basic needs office. Everything from counseling to food pantry to wellness, all in one place, one-stop shopping, and make it, you know, we put it front and center so that it's not something that people are nervous about going to.
It normalizes
It's
it.
just as normal as going to financial. Yeah, that's my hope. I know no one asked me, but I just felt like I'm so inspired by you guys, and I just wanted to chime in. That I'm really proud of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much, Lisa, Karima, Annette, and Valerie. So everybody. We did receive a few questions from attendees, so I wanted to throw it out to folks. The first is a compliment to the Social Service Annex, that the sensory room and the Zenden sound amazing. Are they open to staff too?
So it's really interesting, but staff and faculty, they can bring people down, show them around, but after that, they cannot come in.
Right. It's for students.
Right. And we want you to sit down and relax and not think that your professor is hearing it.
Totally.
And you just don't know. So it changes the vibe that we were going for. But we let them in at least once.
Yeah. And I asked that question just as a representative of the Division of Health and Wellbeing of, we have an employee wellbeing initiative. So it's nice to see that something like that, a sensory room, a space for staff and faculty to just kind of relax and de-stress could be something that appeals to the campus community. So good data. Good data. In Paley. Nice. So next question, and I'll maybe start with Annette for this one. How do you approach involving students in the facilitation of services within your office?
So I think that lived expertise is very important and should be involved in, or at least be a perspective that is considered when we are thinking about, you know, evaluating our programs and expanding our programs. Like, what is it that students actually want to see through your program? So we have a team of about 90 student volunteers at the pantry. So there's no shortage of student voices that I get the pleasure of hearing every week. And my students are fantastic and they have such great insight. So I think that that is a really cool piece of our program, even though it is something that is institutionalized and through the Office of Student Support and Advocacy, it is still something that has the grassroots feel when you enter the pantry. We have our volunteers checking students out. We have student coordinators who are helping with deliveries and stuff like that. So students in that sense are very involved with the operations of our pantry and have the opportunity to give feedback. And I think that also kind of like gets into the point that I was talking about earlier, just creating a space that is welcoming to feedback is also really important. And then additionally, I'm a big believer in, evaluating programs and getting feedback from students and such. So we usually will do a survey every semester to gather feedback from our student shoppers on how we're doing. Oftentimes, I'm surprised, things that we're doing that are appreciated more than we know. And then, really just helpful feedback in terms of where we could be going in the future. So I'm a big believer in feedback. And then additionally, I will also mention that we worked with the Hope Center this time last year to field their student basic needs survey, which is, as Lisa mentioned, their house right here on campus, their research action center, and have this, nationally renowned survey on student basic needs. So we were really able to gather a lot of feedback, and I think that expanded just outside of our reach from, the Cherry Pantry and who's coming there, but rather this was a campus-wide survey. So yeah, just gathering, student feedback in every way that we can.
Great. Would you like to share how you involve students and that principle of peer support into your offices and services?
So we have student interns and they are the peer support and along with the social work staff. And also one of the things that we talked about is we're moving somewhere. Fall 2025, we'll see what that means. And so what we are looking at is doing a student advisory committee to give us a better sense of what the needs are. And then just kind of asking people to, because if you use the service, we want to know why you're using the service and how we can support you. And then if the support is not one that is identified that needs to be at the annex, and it could be at the RRC, then we need to do that. I think the RRC is a great space. We have been looking for that for quite a while because Tuttleman was providing a lot of services, but it's a big need. And so some people would come to the annex while they're waiting on appointments, but they have the RRC now. And I'm like, okay, have you at least tried it out? Have you been there? See if it meets your need. You can always come back here. We're not putting you with, but we want you to know how your needs can be met.
Yeah, so we do it that we do have RC interns, 8 interns a semester that we say to them, like, y'all are the boots on the ground. Like, they are in that space from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We come in and out, but they are kind of the consistent presence in the RC. They do tours, they introduce students to all of the resources that we have, so they orient them into the space. Then every time the student visits, they're the folks who are kind of connecting them to a new resource or kind of checking in with them about old resources. Again, I'll reference those affirmation cards because those are created by our student interns, but as well as other students who might have access to space as well too. And that's facilitated by one of the interns. We have a specific an art therapy student this semester. So that's added such a dynamic aspect of the center as well too. So that's our kind of peer support approach, as well as one of our associate directors has recently started doing a survey for the students who access TCS services in general, just to get some feedback. And so that's been helpful as well too. He can talk more about that, but that is something that we have implemented.
Lisa, I don't know if you wanted to share how student feedback or insights are incorporated into any PDE initiatives.
Well, we recently collaborated with the Hope Center Collegiate Basic Needs Survey. So we offered it free of charge to institutions who are interested. So I think hopefully they're going to gather a lot more data from that it's a pretty good number of respondents. So a good number of institutions have participated. It's just wrapping up now, I believe. So that's one way that we're going to get student feedback. When I visit schools, I always make sure to talk to students. It's just, I love to be on the ground and talking to students. You know, that's probably the best way that I get student feedback. I don't talk to students typically during the day. That's why I love to come to these things.
And the last question, a little bit of a surprise. It's from me as the person who is at the Wellness Resource Center. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I have a question from another question from the chat. So sorry, I'll table my question. What are some trauma-informed ways or examples teachers can show up for students in the classroom and beyond? So what could faculty offer in terms of trauma-informed practice in the classroom?
A little out of my wheelhouse on what faculty should be doing, but I would definitely something that comes to mind is including, like, obviously there's a lot of information that is required to be included on a syllabus statement, but including information about our programs is something that you can include on your syllabus statement. And then, you know, that's a way to just tap into some like passive programming for students who, you know, and that obviously has a large reach to students. And if every faculty on campus did something like that, yeah, that was like my initial thought. I feel like different classrooms, you know, vary a lot. Some are a lot smaller, some are like huge lecture halls. So that seems like one thing that's like kind of implementable on all levels. And then I guess like for faculty too, just, you know, making yourself aware of resources that are available on campus so you can be someone who helps us spread facility.
So this is where I have a soapbox.
Yay.
Because my background is in teacher education, it's always baffled me that we have our teachers in K-12 go through rigorous training. And we don't do that at all at the post-secondary level. You're a subject matter expert, but that doesn't make you an expert teacher. So I think it's especially important in approaching the trauma-informed teaching, not just in K-12, but in higher education as well. Because whatever's going on in K-12, they're bringing that with them.
Yeah.
Students are bringing that with them. It doesn't just go away because you went to college. So again, the mental health first aid training, excellent. When we were at Widener, and I'm gonna get the name of this wrong, the red folder?
Oh, yeah.
Red
Yes.
folder.
Yes.
And there are more than one, I think Widener has it, but several campuses have it. It's just resources built in for faculty, professional development training. Let's require faculty to go to professional development around trauma-informed approaches.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pushback, and I understand that. There's a lot of pushback, but we want these students to succeed and to continue and to keep coming, so we all still have our jobs. We need to be there for all of them, and it doesn't mean you have to become their counselor. It could be something as simple as a 2-minute check-in before class. Let's all take a moment and breathe. Everybody okay? It's that simple. So it doesn't involve, you don't have to learn to become a therapist. You just have to learn a few little tips, techniques that will help your students to feel safe and belong in your class. So here's my soapbox, I gotta stop. I could talk all day about that.
I'm gonna say, show up and be present. You're going into class, you know it's your class, be aware of the classroom, feel them out. And you're right, we're not asking instructors and faculty to be social workers and psychologists, but we're asking that when you are in the room, understand and read the room, come there, prepare, focused, not only on the topic that you're presenting, but who's in your room, how do they look, what could be different. And some things in this current environment is we do have to be careful with our words and choose our words carefully so that they don't offend people. And when and if we do, apologize immediately. If I did something in class and I'll see someone's face, I'm like, you know what? I'm not quite sure what I did. but I saw a face and I want to apologize for that. Now, you don't have to tell me, but I need to give you my apology. And I've done that because I've been in person and on Zoom, and you can see everyone's face. And so I would just say, show up, be ready for the content and for the people who you are addressing.
Share, I just echo all of that. Other, how to be important. I think about the process of just kind of like assuming the best of someone when you are in front of them. And when that student comes in late or somebody does something that is kind of frustrating to you as a faculty member, the trauma-informed approach is maybe thinking about all the other components that might have contributed to that versus, and I'm not saying this is what people do, but do it automatically assuming that they don't care or that this isn't a priority to them. And it might be that this person has to walk to their class versus being able to take some type of public transportation, or they are couch surfing and they're having to kind of figure out those types of things. So just, yeah, exactly. And so really just thinking about kind of the wholeness of that person, the fullness of them, I think is especially helpful. I also add the syllabus piece too. We have, sometimes faculty have around the grad school, you got one day. It's one day, and I was like, which makes sense. But sometimes mental health, it really, when you're depressed and you really can't do anything, you can't get out of bed because of the depression like that, it's hard. And so thinking about those components too around grace and mental health days or something along those lines, I just wonder about what it would look like for that to be incorporated. And I also want to name too, while also holding our students accountable. There's not mental health accountability. And so all of that kind of is all together, but yeah, it's all.
Love that. Great question. Thanks to the person who posted. I have one more. Oh, they said thank you so much. So I'll close with my question, and it was, part of being present, cultivating trust, creating that sense of safety is taking care of ourselves, right? As we do this meaningful work that is so purposeful and can also, be challenging in different ways. So how do y'all take care of yourselves so that you can be present and show up for students and for one another?
Last I think anybody on my staff will tell you I'm the worst at it. I'm
Self-awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm the worst at it. But one of the things that happened after COVID, I did do more self-care, and it came out in a piece of I hug all my family members. And they were like lining up for hugs because I'm not a hugger. And so the word got out, she's a hugs now. Social isolation will do that to you. So just hugging on some family members, contacting them, checking in and making sure that they're okay. And that conversation leads into their asking you, are you okay? And you just get to talk about some things that you don't normally get to do. And so I am just kind of embracing life a little bit differently overall. And so that's what I've been doing for my self-care.
Yeah, self-care and boundaries are obviously very important. I enjoy my yoga practice. I sort of enjoy running. I run. I don't always enjoy it. And cooking and spending time with friends and family. So, I think that being able to do all those things makes me show up at work better. So,
Thanks.
Also, I love a big group of friends, huge family. And so being able to spend time with them is really what kind of important to me. I also love a good book, but even like a cute romance novel or something like that. I love reading that, and I'll read other books too. That'll feel pretty.
Yeah, I'm not very good at it either. Cooking for my family, not a lot, not every night. Sunday slow cooking. That
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
Not not like when am I gonna get home and everybody's like, what's the first thing in here? That bothers me. I recently allowed myself to not feel guilty anymore about just taking a weekend day, doing nothing. Like not feeling like I have to, do the laundry, do the shopping. I'll allow myself a day to just read a book or binge watch a show, and not feel bad about it. So that's the one thing I'm really working on.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us and sharing all of your expertise. For folks that are here in person, we have some resource tables and some space to network with our panelists and our speaker. We have the space until 6 o'clock, so there's time to move around and move as you feel called. And once again, thank you so much to the College of Public Health's Dean and to Kim Wing and our wonderful speakers for creating the space for us today.